All right, guys, I got some updates for you, and it's also going to teach you how to track deer and work on your land and some improvements that you can do on your property now to help increase the deer activity on your land during the fall. So as many of you know, we picked up some new land. It's 72 acres, I believe, pretty close to that, 71, 72 acres. It's about 22 acres of field. And first things first, we went out, scouted it, ended up picking up the property, and we talked to the farmer. We were able to get about 3/4 of an acre of the field from the farmer in order to plant our food plots. And we're focusing on fall food, as I mentioned in a video or two ago. And so the first thing first was we did a soil sample. I think the pH was 6.2. I'll pop that up on the screen. It's kind of a road that divides the fields right and left. So you'll see on the sample, one side is labeled right, one side is labeled left. And I think they were both 6.2 pH. NPK levels were okay, decent. CEC and organic matter was so-so. So we're going to improve that. They're planting all beans in the fields this year, so we're not worrying about feeding the deer throughout the year. We're just focusing on fall food, but we are going to plant, a blend in there for the summer just to kind of help prevent weed growth, prevent chemical use, and also help build the soil with overhaul from Domain Outdoors. So we took that soil sample. We ended up stopping on the way to get lime, and we added our lime to the fields. Why are we doing this? Well, the 6.2 pH is pretty good. 6.5 to 6.8 would be optimal. Pretty much all blends and stuff we plant on food plots. But I wanted to get that lime on there now because when you increase the pH of your soil, it's going to help prevent weed growth. Weeds thrive in acidic soil. So we're bumping that up a little bit, and it's also going to sweeten the plants for our future crop in the fall. So get that in there now, and then actually in the fall, I'll probably go through when I plant my fall food plot. Me and Zach will go through and we'll add a few more bags of lime just to help sweeten that up a little bit. So when you guys are planting food plots, you have new land, always, I know it's a boring topic, but please get a soil sample, add the correct amount of lime. It's going to help prevent weed growth. A lot of people fail with this because they just spray chemicals and everything. They always have weed problems. Bring your pH up, you'll have less weeds and you'll save on chemical costs, especially chemicals now, because I was at the Tractor Supply and it was $142 for a 2.5 gallon of glyphosate. Pretty expensive. So once we spread that lime, we went through, we went all the way to the back side of the property, down a hill, across the creek, back up again, back to the back side. It's a huge ridge top. And we saw this ridge top, a few weeks ago when we were scouting, and we scouted it out. It's got a huge ridge top that kind of drops off a little bit. Then there's a nice little bench that kind of wraps around. And we saw an old tree stand up there. Well, it was an old safety line in the tree. So I looked at it and said, well, they probably had a pretty good idea what a stand up here. It's fairly easy to get to where you don't spook the whole woods out. And it looked like a decent spot because the backside was really, really thick with honeysuckle and just a bunch of thick brush and everything where we saw lots of beds in. Then it drops down to the backside of that, which is an old logging road that wraps around the backside of the property. So that's obviously a bedding area because the bedding is over here, right? And then food is way on the other side. So they're traveling from here in the bedding area, going around the bench, down across the creek, and we have videos and stuff, trail camera videos already, where that's kind of what we're seeing already. So we looked at this stand location on this ridge top, and where they had their stand, the previous people, it was the tree they had was kind of weird because they just stuck out like a sore thumb and was kind of intruding into that ridge a little bit too much. So we backed up off of that about 30 yards or so, and we ended up installing a water hole. We dug and dug and dug and dug this water hole because it's a good spot for one, because we have bedding right here and the food is on the complete opposite side of the property. So they can travel back and forth from the bed drinking water, and especially during the rut, they'll travel this ridge top. And during the wintertime, deer need higher water requirements because they have no green food. When the foliage is gone, a lot of deer get 75-80% of their water content from green foliage. So when they don't have that green around, they need water. So we provided a water source on the property. I don't recommend water sources on every property. It just really depends on the location, how your property's set up, and so forth. But on this property, it kind of made sense. I don't really think there's a whole lot of bears in the area, because if you have water hole and you have bears will overtake a water hole very fast. Seen that several times. But we dug a water hole, got it in there. We buried it below the ground, kind of on a hill, so it'll self-fill. We ended up getting, I had a 50-gallon tank, water tank that we used to fill up at the house. Drove down back to the woods, up the hill, and we ended up filling it up twice, and we're pretty good. So that water hole is set up, I think it was 18 yards from our tree stand, so we'll have that good, have that set up. That should be a good stand. We're already getting pictures in there already as well of deer, you know, nosing around, see what's going on. So also around that water hole is I just sprinkled some grass seed. It'll help fill in that area around that water hole to prevent some erosion and just kind of make it look more natural. So we threw that in there. So that's another easy thing you guys can do is put a water hole in. Once we got that water hole in, I ended up cutting some timber. So the whole idea with this was, on top of this ridge, it was pretty thick canopy. Wasn't a whole lot of sun hitting the ground, but I wanted to block off the upper side of that ridge top. I dropped the larger trees, and I ended up making a trail through the lower side on the bench that comes out of the bedding. They can wrap around. Now they're forced to wrap around the lower part of that bench, and it'll funnel them right into our stand location, into the water hole. So I ended up dropping some trees. I did hinge cut a few trees as well, and Zach ended up hanging a tree stand right there. So he hung the stand, and while we dug, and then we both dug the water hole out, and then we both cut the timber, and then we had some hinge cut a little bit as well. I realize a lot of people can't cut the timber on your property. In this case, we could cut here. I'll probably end up doing more cuts in the future, but I opened the canopy up a little bit, get some sunlight in there to the hinge cuts, and also to force them down to the lower part of the ridge, to the trail that I'm going to enhance a little bit more. It'll funnel them right into our stand location, and then once they hit that water, then they can go down the other side and they can head up to our food plots for the fall. We're only planting about 3/4 of an acre of food. They have plenty of ag around for summer food, and plenty of browse. The whole property, a lot of the property is filled with honeysuckle, which is fine. Deer eat honeysuckle. In the future, I may work on that a little bit to kind of eliminate some, but right now we're going to leave that alone. And in the future, here in the next few weeks, we're going to be putting another water hole in, hanging some more stands, putting more reveal cell cams out, and we definitely got to get more stand locations. But these are just easy little tweaks you guys can do to your property. You know, line your food plots, get the soil right, because in food plots the whole idea is to have the most palatable food you can actually have within the area, better than your neighbors, because deer are attracted to the most palatable food, just like we are. You know, we like good food, deer like good food, so if you have the best soil, it's going to provide that, give it to the food, and the deer are going to, you know, take notice of that when they take a bite of something. They're going to know, like, wow, this tastes really good. Well, it's because of your soil. Install some water holes. If you have lots of bears, be careful. Bears will overtake that water hole. And if you can cut the timber, just be careful with doing it. And I'm not teaching you how to cut timber. I'm just cutting it. And you know, we dropped the larger trees first, and then I ended up hinge cutting a few trees, especially on the trail. And it should be good. I'll keep you guys updated on this, and we got lots more projects coming up, and I will be filming it and bringing it to you so you can help improve your land this year. So any questions, drop them down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, guys, if you are new. I don't ask much of that, but if you guys are definitely new to the channel, new to watching this video, please subscribe to the channel. I have over 600, and I think this is 610 videos now. So take care. I'll see you guys on that next video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want more information on food plots, soil samples, and habitat management, click this video right here on the screen. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new.